Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I remember being at Hajj many years ago when they were expanding the Mataf area, and as a result they had to shut off or block off many parts of the Haram, and in order to accommodate the numbers of Hujjaj that would come and perform their tawaf, they had built a plastic structure, a rotunda, around the Kaaba. Now, being with a Shia group, of course we always have Shias and Sunnis with us, but being with a Shia group, they were adamant to follow the Shia fiqh. Now there was a gentleman with me, said, I want to do tawaf, but there's a lot of rush at the ground level. So I said, why don't you do it from on top of the rotunda? So he said, but if I go there, where will I pray the salah? I said, well, there is a salah area behind Maqam Ibrahim. There, you can see, and you can just pray there. He said, but it's plastic, and I can't do sajda on plastic. I said, why don't you try it? He said, will it be accepted? I said, do you really worship a God who looks at plastic and dust and distinguishes between plastic and dust to accept and reject a prayer that's coming from your soul and your heart? That went into his mind. He said, of course, the prayer comes from the heart. The surface is secondary. When I got back to the hotel or the place of our residence, and after quite a few hours he came back, he was screaming with joy. I feel liberated. I feel like a free person. And I said, why? He said, I did sajda on plastic. And I said, and that means so much to you? He said, you don't understand. It's broken my mold. I know now that my God is beyond dust and plastic and folding arms and opening arms. I have found my God. What I notice within us is that we tend not to look outside our perspective, outside our faith. And we are frightened to look outside our faith. What that does is, it does not allow us to become free from within. Our relationship with God is a very insecure relationship. We have reduced God to a tyrannical instructor or a supervisor or a master whose ego is so great that he cannot withstand even the slightest level of disobedience, or who cannot withstand that we do contrary to what he is commanding. When that is our relationship with God, obviously we are not going to open up from within, because opening from within, breaking the inner mold, requires us to have an objective that is as big, that allows us to break limits and to reach out to him. Our religion imposes limitations upon us and bars our growth. Now that is odd, because religion was there to liberate us. As opposed to liberating us, it itself has become an obstacle. Religion was a path to take us to God. Religion has become a means to bar us from growth and from God. Now, downstairs at the Al-Mahdi Institute, we had an interfaith gathering of communal devotion. Now, the communities that were invited were not only Abrahamic, but beyond Abrahamic. They were Hindus, Sikhs, and even people who do not really advocate a monotheistic understanding of reality or God, like the Buddhists. Now, on that occasion, obviously I did not know who the people were. And cleverly, the master of ceremonies, when they were introducing people, they weren't telling us their denominations, just the name, and they would come and read from their scriptures. If you were to be there, shut your eyes and not look at the person who is speaking so that you have no sense of identity, you would not be able to distinguish between one scripture and another. They were talking about the same spirituality that is yearned for by one and all. They were talking about the same human virtues. They were talking the same language from different perspectives. What I realized is that the truth is only one. What we are aspiring to within the depths of our being is one and the same truth, and how can it be otherwise? We are all the products of the same handiwork of God. We carry within us the same light of God. And indeed the Quran has made that very clear, that Muhammad, the religion that we have revealed to you, is the same one God gave to Noah, the same one we bequeathed to Abraham, to Moses, to Jesus. It's the same message. The message, in essence, is one and the same. It has just been spread out within different bodies, with their different forms. Now, why is it important for us to realize this? Because when we are within our own limited circles, we only appreciate God from that perspective. But God is supremely beyond any perspective. But by appreciating God from that one particular aspect, limits the growth of the soul. And the soul is not allowed to deepen or break its current mold. And that is defeating the whole journey of life. In order for us to break that mold and experience God in His fullness, which will allow us to experience our own selves in its fullest capacity, is to actually encounter variety, to be open to plurality, to go and see that that person of a different denomination that you have so much disdain for, he actually reaches out to the same truth that you are reaching out to. He actually is as virtuous as the virtues you aspire to. He is actually as moral as the sort of morality you advocate. And he has learned all of that from his God. But he sees his God in a slightly different way. Go and see that so that the soul can open up, break free. I will also advocate to my listeners to go and worship God in different places of worship. I've gone to churches, and the way they worship God moves the heart and brings tears to the eyes. Of course, when they talk about Jesus being God, then obviously a Muslim who discerns monotheism in that different way will know, okay, this is something I will obviously not be taking on board. Similarly with the Hindus, with the Sikhs, with the Buddhists, if in fact with the Buddhists we find that their notion of nothingness that comes to that core level of base awareness is actually a description of God within Islam. Say He, the nameless one, who has no definition, description, or determination. It's actually talking of that very fine level that is at the base of everything. Huwa, He. What that will do is, it will open us up. It will make us experience our beauty from differing perspectives, bring wholesomeness within us and free us from inner captivity that is brought about by our insecurity in reading our own religion. And it's natural that if we belong to a religion, we want to justify that it is the best religion, otherwise why would we belong to it? But the truth is, just as there is God beyond God, there is religion beyond religion. All of these are paths leading to the same end. How can it be otherwise? Where shall you run and flee from God? You run away from Him only to arrive at Him. God is inescapable. It's only a question of us opening ourselves up to Him. I have always suggested to my own audience that try praying with your arms folded. Once you can do that, you will break a great idol within yourself, that my God can only be reached with my arms open. Your God is beyond the postures of your arms. He's beyond what you prostrate on. He's beyond the names. Call Him Bhagwan, call Him Om, call Him Allah. These are expressions of the tongue. What goes on in here is what is real. As we break the molds, we relieve ourselves of self-imposed shackles. And the biggest shackle upon us is one that comes in the name of sacred communication of God. In fact, it is not. It is our feeble interpretation of what God has always been saying to us. Now I finish on this note that the Blessed Prophet came into Medina and Surah Baqarah was revealed, and the first verses state, we believe in everything revealed unto us and everything revealed unto you. Look at the level of broadness of that soul of the Prophet, and look at the message that the Quran was giving. Then verses came that say to the people of the book, come, let us unite on the worship of one God. This was allowing the Muslim community to explore others, and as opposed to saying that I am the best, to say actually we are all the same, to break those discriminations and those inner biases and to free ourselves. What I would like us to take away from this is that actually go and meet with people who do things differently, and see at the essential level how different they are. You might find that they are no different. They are as moral, as virtuous, as spiritual. What that will do, it will allow us to appreciate them and also to learn from them, because whatever they have is a heritage of humanity. Broaden us and allow us to conduct our journeys in a far more meaningful way. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.